illegal occupation or acquisition of land, encroachment on land with firearms or other offensive or dangerous weapons, and unlawful sale of land. The law also prohibits abuse and misapplication of professional privileges by professional bodies and crafting of frivolous petitions. Most significantly, the law prescribes community development associations, youth organizations, or anybody by whatever name called or their agent from demanding or collecting any fee or levy in whatever guise in respect of any construction or development project across the state. Most significantly, sections 12 to 14 of the law provides for the establishment of a task force unit with powers of arrest for the enforcement of this law. With this inauguration some weeks ago, the task force, of which I am the chairman, has been given 7 key terms of reference. These include: 1, to enforce the provision of the Edo State Properties Protection Law 2017, to monitor all community development associations and other groups active within the communities in the state to ensure that they comply with the provision of the law, to ensure that community development associations and other groups are prohibited from involvement in the sale of community land or collection of any related fee or levies, to apprehend any person or group of persons who contravenes any provision of the land and hand over such persons to the police, to receive petitions from members of the public in connection with the enforcement of the law and report findings to appropriate authorities, resettlement of CDAs who were hitherto involved in the sale of land in communities, to carry out any other assignment related to the enforcement of the Edo State Private Properties Protection Law. Today, attaining these mandates, the Edo State Private Properties Protection Task Force will adopt 4 strategic approaches. The first strategy is driven by the principle of law enforcement and guided by the details of the rule of law and the criminal justice process. This will ensure that individuals or groups that choose out of their own volition or free will to tempt the resolve and capacity of the state by violating any section of the law will be arrested, investigated, and speedily brought to desired justice. This strategy will be deployed with enough potency to deter deviants and deal decisively with violators, and with enough civility to protect victims and the community. Towards this end, this approach should be intelligence-driven, technologically guided, and law enforcement centered. The second will be the hearts and minds, which will adopt a number of social approaches in providing incentives that should dissuade our youth and others whose livelihood had hitherto been based on the illegalities of the CDAs from such criminalities. This will entail the emplacement of programs that are directed at rehabilitating, reorientating, and redirecting the energies of our youths to more productive ventures, including those that will advance the developmental vision of Edo State government and restore the traditional values of the state. This strategy is informed by the time-tested assumption that whenever states' coercive powers are exclusively deployed to address an apparently socially endemic societal challenge, like the type the state is currently attempting to courageously address, grants will be wittingly or unwittingly created for the people to rebel against the system. If programs to rehabilitate, reintegrate, and engage the people involved are not in place to complement the enforcement options. Consequently, the government will be encouraged to place an amnesty and cash for arms program to rid the system of weapons, engage to advance the illegalities, and engage the repentant youths in employment programs like Neighborhood Watch, technical training, and technical trainings. It will also include the engagement of the youth within the state's agricultural projects and the advancement of soft loans to aid such concerned youths. The third is the strategy of citizens' participation. This will comprise the engagement of sets of strategies that will galvanize the citizens towards understanding their rights and roles within the framework of the law, as well as towards supporting the state government and the community in the attainment of the objective of the law. This approach will incorporate public enlightenment programs and conscious steps aimed at integrating the citizens at every level of governance, the village, local, and states, into the implementation framework. It will also involve the integration of the traditional institution framework, including encouraging the Inigies, Ohens, Igiohe, or Jonwere, who are supposed to be the eyes and ears of the Omonoba at grassroots level, to key into the implementation process. This sensitization workshop is in furtherance of this strategy. The fourth is the strategy of interagency collaboration, which will lead to the involvement of coordination framework between the police and other security agencies and the judicial actors on the one hand, and between the security agencies and the citizens on the other. This strategy is based on our firm conviction that although Edo State Private Properties Protection Enforcement Task Force remains the primary and statutory enforcement body for the law, the mandate of the body can best be attained if a framework that will guarantee a strong synergy between the enforcement body, the police, other security agencies, and the judicial systems are in place. When the framework of the engagement of these other strategies are fully perfected, I can assure you that it will be accorded very wide publicity, and there will be local town hall meetings and other community engagements activities to ensure that the information permeates down to the grassroots. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to take advantage of this strategic gathering to highlight two key areas which are constituting issues of wide concern and misconception among the populace in the implementation process of the law. The first is, what are the roles of the Enigies, the Ojonweres, Ohe, and youths within the implementation chain? Secondly, what should be considered as voluntary development levy within the details of the Edo State private property laws? Let me assure you of one key thing that is that the Enigies, Ojonwere, Ohe, and youths, you constitute the most strategic stakeholders in our implementation plan. This is because they are critical actors at the community level whose actions or inactions may have significant impact on the implementation process. It is in cognizance of this that I wish to confirm that the task force we collaborate very closely with the Enigies, Ojonweres, Ohe, and youths across the community to give effect to the law. In so doing, I must also firmly warn that the law takes precedence over other consideration, and it will be in our common interest for all strategic security stakeholders, including the Enigies, the Ojonweres, the Ohe, and youths, to respect the dictates of the law rather than expose themselves to actions that will place them against the law with its attendant demeaning consequences. On the question of what constitutes development levy, I wish to note that Section 11.126 of the Edo State Private Properties Protection Law 2007 are very explicit in prohibiting the demand and collection of any fees or levies in whatever guise in respect of construction or development activities in the state or any form of obstruction or destruction thereof. It is therefore essential that all community development actors should note the provisions and abstain from any acts that could be interpreted as contravening these sections of the law in their activities, as such will attract punishment on arrest and conviction to imprisonment for 10 years or a fine of 1 million naira or both such fine and imprisonment for persons who contravene the provision of subsection 1, and 6 months imprisonment or a fine of 100,000 naira or both for contravention of provision of sections 2, 3, and 4. The enforcement task force shall never shy away from enforcing this component of the law should it be violated under any guise by anybody or group. Let me at this junction, on behalf of the enforcement task force, assure citizens that the extent that they respect the law, they have no reason to fear. However, for those with deep deviance who might be bent on testing the will of the states and the enforcement task force which I superintend, I can assure of our strong will to bring the full weight of the law to bear on them. Our mandate is to advance the vision of the states, the state government, and our revered royal authority in guaranteeing that Edo State is one where law-abiding citizens are guaranteed security. Let me pause to welcome our royal fathers. Mr. Chairman, sir, sorry, I had to pause to allow you and the Isogwan to take your seats. We're almost concluding the welcome address. So I will just conclude and allow you to make your comments. Thank you very much, sir. I said our mandate is to advance the vision of the state government and the revered authority in guarantee that Edo State is one where law-abiding citizens are guaranteed peace, security, and protection, while criminally minded individuals are guaranteed justice within the criminal justice system as it relates to the private properties protection law of the state. This we are determined to achieve, and nobody, no matter how privileged or highly placed they might assume they are, should be in doubt. Let me at this junction recognize the immense and appreciate our most revered Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nuba Kolokolo, Oba Eware II, and His Excellency Godwin Obaseki for their vision, passion, and effective collaboration which have combined to manifest in the Edo State Private Properties Law. I have no doubt in my mind that the law will change the security and developmental narratives of our beloved state by addressing the yearnings of Edo people for a safe and secure environment where they can invest and operate to advance their welfare, and where they are free from threats, intimidation, and violence that have been threatening their inheritance, hard-earned assets, and their lives, as well as the development of our beloved state. As earlier mentioned, however, this can best be so seamlessly attained only if the citizens, particularly the Eniges, the Odionweres, the Ohens, and youths, who I wish to emphasize, constitute the most strategic stakeholders in the implementation process, supports the initiative. It is against this reality that I wish to call on you as participants in this workshop, and indeed the entire citizen of Edo State, to cooperate with us in this journey of restoring our states to the path of decency, security, and development. I thank you for your attention, just as I look forward to collaborating with you towards the attainment of an odious mandate of implementing the Edo State Private Properties Protection Act. God bless you all.
Let's appreciate this proud son of Edo. I'd like now to specially welcome the chairman of this ceremony, the Iyase of Benin Kingdom, Chief Sam Igbe, OON. Let's celebrate him. I'd like to especially thank Anselm Jesua Esquire for acting as chair before the arrival of the Iyase. Thank you, sir. Please join me also to welcome the Esogban of Benin, Chief Edebiri. Celebrating, please. Thank you. The Right Honorable Speaker of the State House of Assembly is very ably represented here today by Honorable Damian Lawani. Please, can we have him on the high table? Don't be in a hurry, sir. Just walk majestically. We'll wait for you to get there. Mr. Speaker, let's celebrate him, please. You're welcome. All right, just to recognize and welcome the APC unit leader in the state, Comrade Valentine Aswan. Welcome, sir. It's time now to pray. It was proper that we waited till this moment. Apologies. It's my privilege to call on the Eastern of Benin Kingdom to pray for us and for this ceremony.
Anyway, wakialeru. Wari total. Ikedo ena. Ai leru na yakie ikona. Osana bua. Akpama ọkọ̀ dúdú ayino yima ya fere. Ewane do ya gba Imaguero vegena. Ado kwanya enwu ye kun na da muhe. No asi ofure yewo na. No asi ala oda yewo na. Ana miewe ema ya fere no mego no do ya dole wona yi. E mi to na do ya loe. Elu yi mi ki. Ema ni ru to ya na we ate so yi. Okere na tie wa ne do. Ema ni ru te do. Na ta mi a we nu yi mi ye kewe we. Bena ya le kia na ya fio owe do. E mare ma ba na. E ma ya ko ko le ru ni awe o hi opo na yi na be ni aka o adole wo na yi sayo. O agbo ba dole wo na yi iwe ni. E mo na re ze yo. No am paro wo yi ni. No na ro ka bo ge. Ubima no Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase imari lehun we ikoni ni amu boni o adagbe owo irakana o ayewo na la o da o ni na te ka bi ene de oligi otigi ayamu egbe ari Abuja aye polisi mona e ya fe viokpa ni ara ri ebo ebu wege na yin na ma re mi oku gbe ma re mi oku mu oku e kan wo na e ma le wo na ya fe wa ya ma le ru na se ma no no so ma na ne wa ya ni le wo na ni mama na na wo no we e agbo ba si yen wo na mama na ne o agbo ba si yen do mama re na le no we emi ni a una ya fe we se yin re e ya ri arwa ason re ya ri arwa e ma we ri mama le ro ni wa ni ke ya no ko ba de wo na yi no ko to le wo na yi ke gbe ya se pa wa de wa ya ma fe emi ke ni wa ri yo to wo na o ga po wa ri mi ko yo ga po wa po wa amigo o dudu e po mo e wo na e pa ka e pe wo emi na ma e ni e le wo na gbera oba atope.
Please join me to appreciate the Sabbath of Benin Kingdom. I'd like to recognize and welcome the Obazelu of Benin Kingdom, Special Advisor, Political and Community Affairs, Chief Usaro Ida is here. At this point, I'd like to call on the ESL of Benin Kingdom, who is chairman of this ceremony, give us his opening remarks. Mr. Chairman, sir. Domhawa.
I want to welcome all of you to this very auspicious occasion. I think what qualifies me to be chairman, apart from being the ESL of Benin, when you are holding where all Edo people are seated, by tradition, ESL should be there where he ought to be. And that's why I'm here. Also, these things that necessitated the creation of these rules and laws that we are celebrating today, we very, very much prayed for it. Well, my son, who is heading the committee that called us here today, has told you about the law. I do not intend to delve into that law. I just want to say that the reason why the palace, as you look around, we are very well represented here. Why the palace is so heavily represented is that we want this land of Edo people to prosper. We were getting very, very much afraid about what was happening around. We were afraid to go to the communities. People were running away from building houses. Your children abroad couldn't build houses because when they come to buy a plot, they find out eventually that somebody else already bought it. And to do your foundation, you pay. When you want to do the German floor, you pay. When you want to roof, you pay. And by the time you do all this, you don't have money to complete the house. So you have so many uncompleted buildings all over the place. And worst of it all, there were killings here and there. It is pleasing to see our Enige all sitting here now. They had pests in their communities who made it impossible for them to do their jobs. The Ejonwe who worked with them were not allowed to work. Now, this law that the governor has been kind enough to institute for us is going to ensure that all these are in the past. That is why this committee is set up. The stated objectives of this gathering today is to do something about you, the people of the communities, understanding the law. They put here that they also want to classify the functions of the CDAs. Well, if I had my way, the CDAs are dead. But community development associations cannot die. So how do we understand their functions? They are going to tell you. CDAs, that is Community Development Associations, are not new to our land. Even the soldiers, during their time, started something like this. They were not able to make it a law before they left, but they did quite a lot of things, wrote down everything about it, and even had a constitution for community development associations in the communities. And you know, this law or this association was set up at the federal government level, not even in the states. The thing was so well done, so if you read what they set out, you start wondering how our children came about what they were doing. Simply, the community development associations were groups of communities. Everybody in the community was a member. You subscribed money for development in your state, in your community. When what you subscribe is not enough, you go to the government for help. There was no land sale. There was no supervision of buildings or land sales or you know, it was, I read it, when I was getting worried about what was going on, I started looking for it, and I got it in a ministry. Now, we are lucky we now have a body that knows what community development associations are, and they are going to classify the functions for you. They also intend to organize how we can deal with problems within the communities, what they call conflict resolution. Whether you can't have a community without having conflicts, they are going to organize how these conflicts will be met face to face. Well, the most important thing to us from the palace is the fact that we have an Oba in this place. The Oba has his Enige, and the Enige have a Diowe. And the other groups of the people all work in concert. Now, I think the Enige and the Edionwe are breathing a sigh of relief that this law has come into being, and that the Community Development Association, as it was in the immediate past here, they are disappearing, giving way to, we hope, the proper community development associations, where the community, indigenes of communities, gather to find out how to develop, really develop their communities. Well, who are the youths? Unfortunately, our youths today, most of them, want money. We all want money. They want money, but they don't want to work for it. We have youths who do not really settle down to think, what am I going to do tomorrow? Everybody is shouting, government, government, government. Government, when you can't feed yourself in the house, government will come and feed you. When you can't go to school, government will come and send you to school. When you cannot even say hello to your seniors, the government will come and tell you to do it. Government has a restricted set of functions. They have to do your, what about your, and when you talk to them, they tell you they are going to be leaders of tomorrow. They have rights. We all have our rights. I have my rights. I know my rights. What about the responsibilities? does anyone think of the responsibilities? I think we should start thinking of it, starting from the homes. The parents, you should teach your children that even though they have rights, that you must train them, they also have responsibilities. We should learn to carry our own responsibilities. It's a shame that children will pass through primary school, secondary school, university, and he does not know why he went to school. Then he starts walking from place to place, looking for job. So what were you doing all these years in school? You were not working for what you were going to do, and that is the goal of education. Well, we want to thank the government for what they have done for us, setting up this committee, making sure that we have a law that stops indiscriminate and dangerous living. And we hope that our children here who are now running this space will ensure that we get the benefit of this law. Thank you very much.
I think the ESL Benekedon deserves another round of applause. The welcome address delivered as only an officer of the Order of the Niger can so do. Please celebrate him again. Thank you, sir. At this point, I'd like to invite to the high table the former Director General, NIA, Ambassador Emmanuel Imohe. Can we have him, please? Let's celebrate this ambassador. It's obvious that he's retired but not tired at all. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. I'd like also to recognize and to invite to the high table the Director General of the SSS, Ibrahim M. Halilu. Ibrahim Halilu, Director, State Director, DSS. You know, this set of people do not want to be seen, but today is an exception. Pardon us, sir. But all the same, celebrate him. Welcome, sir. Is the State Director, DSS. State Director, DSS. Please celebrate him on that acknowledgement. Welcome, sir. Maybe one day we'll become Director General, but it's not there yet. The representative of the State Commissioner of Police, DCP Oko Peter, is the DC State CID. Welcome, sir. Are you now saying because he's a policeman you will not appreciate him? Please appreciate him. The police is our friend. Welcome, sir. All right. You must pardon me here today for all the errors. Do we have the names? Once again, we want to appreciate all the chiefs who are here today, the Eniges who are here, all our community leaders. Please, let's celebrate them. They've been here waiting patiently, even when we started much behind time. We welcome you, sir. And of course, our leaders from across the state who are here. Please celebrate them. Our youths who are here, celebrate them, please. They are here in their large numbers. And then, of course, our women. Special celebration for our women. That one was for those putting on gele. Let's celebrate those who have no gele on. Thank you so much. God bless you. Now we're moving on now to take when I introduced Chief Osaro, I forgot to mention that he's also the Vice Chairman of the Private Property Protection Law Committee. So he's here in several capacities. Welcome, sir. The Esan of Benin is here. He didn't send anyone, he came by himself. Chief Amos Osumbo is the Esan of Benin Kingdom. Please come this way, sir, to the high table. Yes, sir. To the high table, sir. Don't worry. The Osuma of Benin Kingdom, to the high table, sir. Come over. Come on. Sonny? I'd like to mention that this event is being streamed live across the world. In other words, you are being watched now across the world, across several networks around the world. That's technology. That's what I've been told, though. That's what they came to tell me here just now. I have Imaguero, later. Don't damage. I don't know. Now time to go back into the grammar. Understanding the Land Use Act. A young professor of the Faculty of Law, University of Benin, Professor Osaitin Agbabu, to dwell on that. Welcome the professor, please. The professor himself knows that. I like to say why the professor is that Professor Ambassador Imohe is also a member of the Private Property Protection Law Committee. Celebrating, please, also a member. Distinguished members of that committee.
The chairman of this occasion, the ESA of Benin, the Isoban of Benin Kingdom, distinguished chiefs on the high table, the chairman of the task force on the enforcement of the BPPL, retired Inspector General of Police, Dr. Solomon Arase. Incidentally, please, I want a round of applause for Dr. Solomon Arase. His doctorate was earned. He just got a PhD in law. So it's not an honorary doctorate. And other members of the high table, distinguished Enigis, Adionways, and community members, members of the press, you are welcome to this occasion. I want to speak on the impact of the Land Use Act on customary land tenure. We are here to discuss the new law, PPPL, Protection of Private Property Law of Edo State. And people may wonder what the Land Use Act has got to do with this law. But at the end of this presentation, you are going to see why the troubles or problems that this law has been fashioned to combat in the Land Use Acts like this. So we'll just go to the introduction. Vested all land in all the states of Nigeria in the governors who hold such land in trust for the common benefit of all Nigerians. What that means is that from the date of that decree, the radical title to all land in Nigeria were vested in the respective governors of the states. So we are now going to see how this law impacted on customary land tenure, which was an existing law before the Land Use Act was promulgated. Customary land tenure is the holding of land under customary law, which we are all used to. So this paper is divided into 6 parts. We are going to discuss under the various headings. First of all, we are going to look at how title to land to the advent of the Land Use Act. We are going to use Benin as a case study, and the reason is very obvious. So out of all the senatorial districts in Edo State, Edo South, Edo Central, Edo North, it is the most litigated and it is the most refined. The principles of Benin customary law are the most refined because they've gone all the way to the Supreme Court many, many times. So the principles are out there. So we are going to use the principles of Benin customary law to illustrate how you acquire land prior to the Land Use Act. Then the second part will discuss the immediate impact of the Land Use Act, the method of acquiring title that we're all used to. And then the third part, we are going to look at the judicial intervention promulgated. There were a lot of misconceptions. There was a lot of confusion. So there were now cases that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And these cases clarified the true legal position of customary tenure under the Land Use Act. Then the fourth part will discuss the problems which arose after the introduction of the Land Use Act, in spite of the efforts of the law. And then the fifth part will discuss the academic, government, and stakeholder response towards resolving its problems, and then, of course, recommendations on how the new responses can be improved, while the sixth part will conclude the paper. Next slide. Now, we are going to look at acquisition of title, the customary title before the Land Use Act. How, we are going to use Benin. How was land acquired in Benin before 1978, when the Land Use Act was promulgated? We must bear in mind that under customary law, land was not owned by an individual. You can farm on the land, but the land is not your own. The crops are yours. The land belongs to the paramount traditional authority. And Benin, it is the Oba of Benin. It is represented in the communities. It is represented in the communities by the Eniges and the Ojonwere, where there is no Enoge. And this position of the law had been captured even before independence by one very old case, not in Benin area, but customary law is the same. Amodu Tijani and Secretary of Southern Nigeria. The case went up to the House of Lords, what they used to call the Privy Council those days. And he said that customary land tenure, the notion under it is that there is no individual ownership. that land belongs to the community, the village, the family, and never to the individual. That is the principle of communal land ownership. Next slide. So before 1961, when plot allotment committees were created for Benin City and is environed by the Oba of Benin, the Oba of Benin used to grant land both in Benin City itself and in other areas of the division by direct grant to allottees or applicants. An authority in Benin native law and custom, Bra-Bray, he was one of these colonial people who studied Benin custom. He said that in Benin City, the metropolitan area of Benin, before the approval came, land was allocated directly by the Oba, who would consult the chiefs or the elders of the ward in which a proposed building was to take place. The site was inspected and approved, and the boundaries are demarcated on the Oba's behalf by a ward deed known as Aviogbe. They will report back to the Oba, and the land is given to the builder. Also, in the hinterlands, the Oba could grant land for farming purposes. And those grants of land, and when I mean land, it's not just farmland. It will pass the radical title under customary law to the applicant. How did this signify this? There was no writing. There were no documents. All he would do is that the Oba would send to the Enoge, and when there's no Enoge, to the Ojunwure in that area, to demarcate such land for the person. And such allotment would be evidenced. Please, next slide. Such allotment would be evidenced by the planting of a tree we all know, the Ikimi tree, which botanical name is Neobodia levis. The Ikimi tree will be planted after the boundaries are demarcated. And such grant is grant of title. It's not farmland. The land would belong to the person. This was the case in Owadiai and Aborime and two others, where the Court of Appeal upheld this method of granting land to applicants. Because the issue in that case, which happened in Isioho, was that there were the appellant, Owadiai, his father in 1924 got a grant of land from Oba Eweka II by planting of Ikimi tree from the Ojonwe and elders of Isioho, 60 acres. Later, that is 1924, later, after plot allotment committees were set up in Benin in 1961, he applied to the plot allotment committee for that area for a grant of the land to him. That was in 1973. And they granted part of the land to him, about 30-something acres. But even this part that was granted to him by approval, signed by Oba Akenzwa, people still trespassed on it. And he went to court. And the argument of the trespassers was that their own approval was signed by Oba Akenzwa in 1971. And Uwadai's own was in 1973. And therefore, their own had priority over that of Uwadai. But the argument of Uwadai was that, look, my father even got approval from Oba Eweka by the planting of Ikimi tree to this land. And therefore, that 1924 grant has priority over any other grant. And the Court of Appeal agreed with him. And they said that his own grant predates that of the trespassers. And therefore, the court now recognized the use of Ikimi trees to grant land under Benin custom. But even under the plot allotment committees, which I said were introduced by Oba Akenzwa in 1961, then Benin City was divided into 12 wards initially. But later, some other walls were now added. But we also saw that in spite of the organization of the plot allotment committee, the administrative center of the plot allotment system was the palace of the Oba. He appointed members of the plot allotment committee, and the approvals were brought back to the palace for signature. All the principles regarding how plot will be allotted under the plot allotment committees were recognized by the Supreme Court in a long line of very, very many cases. In spite of this well-arranged system, we still have some problems. The shortcomings were that there were no well-delineated boundaries between various committees. You know, usually in Benin Kingdom, you use things like the moat and what have you to demarcate boundaries. But sometimes you see there will be boundary disputes between communities because there was no precise survey or delineation of the boundaries. And of course, there was absence of accurate record keeping because many members of the plot allotment committees were illiterate. They signed with thumbprint. And then of course you had rivalries, even between wards. They always had rivalries with each other. But those problems were manageable compared to what happened after the Land Use Act. Next slide. Now, what happened to customary tenure under the Land Use Act? Now, you know it was under a military regime. The first thing that was done was that all the plot allotment committees were disbanded because it was thought that the Land Use Act had nationalized all the land, and therefore the Oba did not own the land anymore. So the plot allotment committees were disbanded. And then sections 34, 5, 36, 1, 36, 5, and 50 of the Land Use Act contributed to the confusion because those sections tended to suggest that it is the people who were using the land, especially the agricultural land in the hinterland, that were the owners. Rather, they were the people entitled to C of O or customary right of occupancy from the local government because it defined them as the persons entitled to the certificate of occupancy. So because of this, no, go back to the other slide. So because of this, you had a lot of confusion. Even academics like Professor Motola, who was an expert in the Land Use Act, was confused. His own prognosis was that there's going to be trouble ahead because it is not clear what the Land Use Act is saying. Then the Court of Appeal, in that case, LSDPC and a foreign corporation, the case that was decided by them, pronounced the death, that is death of customary land tenure. The court said that customary land tenure is dead, that under the Land Use Act, customary land ownership is dead, and therefore, what we are used to here to say that Oba Nyato no longer exists, that is what that court said. But even in this regime, when they said that customary land tenure is dead, people were buying land, people were building houses in Benin and environs, and you said that you have scrapped plot allotment committees. How were they buying this land? What documents were they using? If you say you scrapped the plot allotment committee, the simple answer is that it was forgery. Next slide. Forgery. The signature of Abba Akenzwa was forged in land transactions. The land transaction will be genuine, no doubt. The Enoge, the Odionwe, the community selling land, they have right to sell and all that. But how do you evidence it? Since they said the Land Use Act has scrapped customary land tenure. So what people were doing was that they will forge the signature of Abba Akenzwa. So it was a notorious fact. I once had prepared a document for a high-ranking officer in Edo State who was once secretary to the Oba, who was very familiar with the signatures. And we took the documents to him in the government house. And when he looked at the document, he smiled and said, look, they tried in this Oba Akenzwa signature. It's not that they didn't draw this leg well. They didn't draw this leg well. Because everybody knew that they were forged. And then another reason was that The reason why forgery was owned was that the law and the reality were different. They don't own land, for example. But the people knew that the Obas still owned the land. So they had to forge papers. Then two, there was no capacity and political will to enforce or to apply the Land Use Act. Because to apply the Land Use Act, you need public officers, civil servants who have integrity. But we knew that some persons will allocate land to themselves under different names. And then you have taken the land from the community and you are allocating it to yourself or your friends. They will not take it lightly. That's why you see that in areas taken over by government, there's always issues with the community. They don't like it. Then also you have bureaucratic bottlenecks. If you want C of O, we all know what you pass through. It's very difficult. Very difficult. Most governments did not find it difficult to sign C of O's. Many governments did not have land use allocation committees in place. And then, of course, while government land was restricted, limited, there was abundance of land in the communities. Because if you want to get government land, let's use Benin for example. You go to a rural area where they acquired land, you go to Upper Sokomba, you go to Etiti layout. After that area, where the government have land? But there's free land all over the place you can get from the communities. So people prefer to go to the communities than to go to government. So all these ones, facilitated the regime of forgery. Now, on the next slide. Now, how was customary law redeemed? It was the same law that purported to kill customary law that redeemed it. But in this case, it was the judiciary that redeemed customary law. And the redemption started from the case of Ogunleye and Oni, where for the first time, the Supreme Court started recognizing the fact that customary law could not have, the Land Use Act could not have abolished existing rights in land. It is not possible. That to do that will mean that you have taken land from people who were the owners before to their tenants. And therefore, the court held that you cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. That is, you cannot take land from the owners of the land and give the tenants. That it will not be fair. This decision was followed by the Supreme Court in the second case, Ogunola and Eyekola, Ogboni and Oja, and Abioye and Yakubu. By the time it got to the case of Abioye and Yakubu, it was such an important issue that the full court of the Supreme Court sat on that issue. That is, what is the effect of those sections 34, 36, 50 on customary land tenure? All the members of the court sat. They invited 5 senior advocates of Nigeria who had nothing to bring your briefs. Come and address us. What is the position? They called all the attorneys general, federal and the state. Come and address us. What is the import of these sections? At the end of that case, the Supreme Court said no. All of them, all unanimously, said that customary land tenure is still existing, even under the Land Use Act. Like in Benin, while previously you can get approval from the Oba of Benin and go straight to the land registry to register it, now when you get approval from the Oba of Benin, you have to get governor's consent before you register your title. That was the only difference. And after this, one would have thought that the problems of customary law or customary land tenure are over. But unfortunately, the problems of customary land tenure just started. Next slide. After the customary land tenure was freed, next slide. After customary land tenure was freed, the new position of acquiring title was now that instead of forging Oba approval, communities now started giving out land using their own document. The Noge of this, Odionwe and elders of this, they will give land because they were representatives of the Oba of Benin. The Oba of Benin was still the owner of all the land, but the Enige, the Dionores were the representative of the Oba in the various communities. So they were now giving out land using their own documents, no more forgery. And under this regime, you can still give land by planting ikini. Okay, I will. Trees. But this problem still arose because the youths and the CDAs, their issue now came up. I think because there was no central administrative authority like we had under the plot allotment committee system, centered on the palace that controlled land allocation, the youths and the CDAs came in, and there was now a lot of problems. The Niges and the Odionwores, they were overthrown in most cases. The youths and the CDAs started allocating land, and that resulted in a lot of violence. So in other words, like the chairman has said, the CDAs became criminal organizations that to change the government, they will be fighting killings, police cases, selling land, reselling land, and then outrageous fees to clear the land fee, to lay foundation fee, DPC fee, setting fee, roofing fee, borehole fee, fencing fee, all manner of fees. To the extent that many people were known in the force headquarters. I went there one day and I was told by a friend that your people always bring money to us from Benin. They will have land case, they will go to, AIG was no longer sufficient, they will go to force headquarters. In all this, government finally reacted. Next slide. Government and stakeholders suggested, it started with Oba Erediawa of blessed memory. He once, in exasperation, wrote to the police and to the press to say that the activities of youths is illegal. He didn't send them, that they are not representing Benin customary law. But they didn't listen. Even the police, the former AIG of the police, AIG Zone 5, even said that CDA should be scrapped some years ago. Then many academics suggested ways. How do you solve these problems? And then the federal government enacted one law they call the VAP Act, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. That act is commonly seen as an act against domestic violence. But the act contains some of the prohibition of some of the things that these youths were doing, attacking people, beating up people for their property. That law also prohibited them. But the problem was that law was only effective in the Federal Capital Territory. And then Obaeware, His Royal Majesty Obaeware came, and he started, because he was so reform-minded, he started this process that has brought us here. And in cooperation with the governor of Edo State, they came out with the private property protection law, which has brought us here today. But we still have some recommendations. Our recommendations are that even this law has left a lot of vacuum, which should be addressed. Otherwise, that vacuum will mutate into other problems. For example, like the chairman of the task force has said, how are we going to address what is now the role of the Eniges and Odionwore and the communities when it comes to things like you want to do foundation? What do they do? What are they supposed to do? What are the expectations of developers? What are they supposed to do for the community? Are they supposed to bring drinks, cola, or what? Since the law has banned collecting money, what is now the position? What are we going to do about the youths who depended on all this for their sustenance? What is to be done? So those are the, and we are suggesting that His Royal Majesty Obaeware should step in and come out with a restatement of the Benin customary law regarding land and building purposes. It has been done before. There has been a restatement in terms for inheritance under Benin law. It was done by the palace. Now we are suggesting that there should be a restatement on the Benin customary law on developing properties and acquiring properties, so that developers will know what to do, so that they will not be exploited, because there are still some youths lurking around the corner waiting to pounce on innocent developers who do not know what is happening. So that is our suggestion in this paper. Thank you very much.
Let's celebrate the professor once again, please. That was very powerfully delivered, and I am sure that the recommendations proffered by him are not lost on anyone. At this point, we want to call on the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Justice, and Solicitor General, Edo State, Wole Iyamu Esquire, to enlighten us on the law proper and point the way forward. They are coming to meet you, sir. Yes. Please, let's welcome the Solicitor General, please.
Thank you. The chairman of this occasion, the ESL of Benin, Chief S.O.U. Ibe, most respectfully call your name. Our most revered oracle, Chief Edebiri, the Esoba of Benin, recognize her. The chairman of the ruling party everywhere in the world, Aslam Ojezwa Esquire, the retired Inspector General of Police, our own respected senior brother, Solomon Arase Esquire, you're welcome. May I pay my respects to all our elders and traditional rulers here present, my lords temporal, ladies and gentlemen. The beauty of having the professor speak before me is that I can, as Isaac Newton said, sit on the shoulders of a giant. And when you sit on the shoulders of a giant, you see even further. A lot of what I had proposed to analyze, the professor has given us very clear exposition. So I will not waste your time by analyzing for you the powers of His Royal Majesty, the Oba of Benin, over land, particularly within the Benin Kingdom. We all recognize the problem. And that problem arose, like the professor mentioned, from the fact that we made changes in an age-old system without making provisions for how those changes would meet with the modern requirements. The title of my presentation would give you a fair idea of our attitude in government. It says the Edo State Private Properties Protection Law 2017, an end to the menace of community development associations, a return of civility and rule of law in Edo State, and restoring the dignity of traditional institutions. That is what we want to talk about. We know about the land allocation committees. We know about the fact that the Oba holds land in trust for the people of the kingdom. We know all those processes. But we also all know that those processes, like the professor mentioned, in recent past had become abused. So rather than just read my speech, I will tell you some of the basic truths. The CDAs, being a product of a failure to think ahead and plan, became a monster that we created. The CDAs were registered by government for the purpose of community development, so we are told. They became brigands. They became warlords. They became thugs. They became terrors. And destroyed the attractiveness of land to the ordinary citizen in Edo State. I will give you perhaps a personal example. When I was appointed permanent secretary in Edo State, a driver was sent to me as my driver to take care of my vehicle. One day, after about 2-3 days, he walked up to me and said, "Oga, I know they come again." I said, "Why?" He said, "No." And he looked at his salary. He's a civil servant. He looked at his salary. And his friend, who, to quote him, was doing community work, was making almost 10 times what he was being paid. Honestly, I was so naive, I did not understand what he meant by community work. I said, "They pay you to do community work?" He said, "Yes." And then I found out that somewhere near Imaguero, they would go around terrorizing landowners, collecting money from them, harassing them for, like they pointed out, you want to put toilets, you want to put fence, you want to do foundation, you want to put roof, even when you want to move in. It became a nightmare. There's something that the former governor of this state used to say. He said that the dollar, and in this case, not just the dollar, money. And when you translate money, I'm talking about investment. Investment, money, the dollar, use it interchangeably, is a coward. Money is a coward. He does not like trouble. The slightest level of harassment, it will go elsewhere. No society will develop without outside investment. No society will develop if the dollar or the naira runs away. And that has been our lot over very many years. We have driven investment away. Even our own sons and daughters who live outside Edo State. We have perhaps one of the biggest diaspora populations in this country. It is difficult for them to invest in land in Benin because of the uncertainty, because of the litigation, because of the terror that we have unleashed on ourselves. But perhaps the most telling and the most fundamental problem is that we have created a whole generation that does not see the value of the dignity of labor. They have become what the Yorubas in Lagos used to call omonile, the children of the land. They make their living from the land. Even when you offer them work, it is not attractive. I do not envy the retired Inspector General in his task of trying to reorient these gentlemen, because a lot of damage has been done to their psyche and to their attitudes. But that is his job, and I know that he is up to it. Now, we all know the dangers of the CDAs, and we know that there is a law that seeks to attack these issues. It is called the Edo State Private Property Protection Law. It is a very short law. Actually, I think it's about 15 sections. The substantive provisions of that law, sections 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, they create various offenses. The law is modeled after the Lagos State Property Protection Law 2016, which in Lagos they call the Omonile Law. But we have taken it a bit further in our law. And by the time I get to analyzing the last part of the provisions, you will understand why. Because we have unique circumstances here. Section 1 prohibits the use of force or self-help to take over any property or to engage in any act inconsistent with the proprietary act rights of the owner. The use of the words there indicates that there are actually two offenses. In other words, you can use self-help, take over a landed property, or you can use self-help to engage in an act inconsistent with the rights of the owner. Both of these are proscribed. And criminal liability is imposed on anybody who carries out such acts. Subsection 2 of that law talks about a 3-month window. Is like an amnesty period. That anybody who has used force to take over land before the coming into effect of the law and continues to remain on that land or continues to use the force for 3 months, then the penalties will kick in. In other words, you have 3 months within which to go and sin no more. After that, I think he will be talking to Mr. Arase. The law in section 3.1 also criminalizes the use or threat of violence for the purpose of securing into this land. What it means, or what the mischief that is being attacked there, is not just the CDA or the whatever who come to harass people. Even if the land is yours, or in other words, even if you have a bona fide claim that you believe that you own the land, using force or resorting to self-help in order to defend or to protect that right is itself an offense. I don't think I need to explain to you why that should be an offense. Any society that makes the pretension even of being civilized must ensure that there are decent and civil ways of protecting rights. In other words, even if somebody is living on your land wrongfully, that is why we pay salaries of judges and magistrates. That is why there is a third arm of government to protect those rights. The intention is to ensure that people do not resort to self-help. There is even some argument which I support that this provision can be extended even to situations of landlord and tenant. In other words, the use of force to evict a tenant, even where the property is your own, might bring you in conflict with the provisions of this law. And we're talking of huge fines in the region of 1 million or substantial prison terms and or both together. Section 4.2 talks about, Section 4 talks about illegal occupation of land. I'm sure we all know what that means. Now, Section 5 deals with the question of agents. Because 90% of this problem is created by people acting. The actual person who purports to own the land is not the person usually who creates the problem. They have agents, the warriors, the strong men, sometimes, unfortunately, professionals, estate agents, lawyers perhaps, who prompt and who encourage these acts. This law imposes very serious penalties, particularly in Section 3, subsection 4. There's a one-size-fits-all penalty for agents. I know that some of our colleagues have said there is a principle in law that when there is a disclosed principle, you should not challenge or you cannot attack the agent. But our position is that that does not hold sway in criminal law. So if the agent acts in such a way as to breach this law, then both the agent and the principal who sent him under Section 7 of the Criminal Code will be liable and will pursue both of them for the offense created under this section. The law also talks about sale of property without authority. That is where people do a lot, unfortunately, in the Ministry of Justice, with people who claim to own land that they do not own. People who create fraudulent documents and entice others to buy land where they know that they do not have such title. We have cases of people who purport to be members of families they do not belong to for the purpose of carrying out sale of land. Now, this law criminalizes such actions, and I'm sure a lot of us have the printout or the printed version of the law, and you will see the offenses that are created there. Now, one very important part is that it says that if you commit an offense, be criminally liable, and you will be subject to a fine not exceeding 200% of the value of the property, or 5 years imprisonment, or both. So if you go and sell a property worth 50 million that is not your own, I'm sure you know how much the liability that is being created is likely to be. Some people have also argued that there is a provision there that says that the land which you have sold wrongfully will revert to the owner if you are convicted in this section. There are people who say that that might not be fair because the person who bought not buy with the knowledge of the fact that the person who sold to him did not have that authority. But we argue that the basic thing for the law or the legal maxim says caveat. In other words, find out, ask, investigate, and know. Otherwise, you might have to start pursuing the person in a civil claim to get your money back because the land will be taken and given to the rightful owner. Section 9 of the law talks about misconduct by professionals. And like I said earlier, we are quite clear that one of the major problems is the use of professionals. A lot of our people, lawyers, the estate valuers, the land agents, and other people engage in acts which even their professions would punish if they got to know. So this law provides not only will you be punished under the law, if you have a professional organization, your name will be forwarded to that professional organization for extra punishment. Section 10 talks about writing of frivolous petitions. Since we have this of whistleblowing, since we started the regime whistleblowing, and whistleblowing became very popular, we discovered that it is also possible for people to abuse whistleblowing. You can write petitions to the task force, sometimes out of malice. And if it is discovered that you wrote a frivolous petition, you must look into that law and discover that you are required to swear an affidavit. In other words, when you make an allegation, you must swear to an affidavit saying that what you have said is true. If it is found out that your allegation is false, there is something that is called perjury. And it is a criminal offense. And that will also be enforced against those who do so. Now, we talked, I think when the professor was speaking, he talked about the role of traditional institutions. This law seeks to bring back the role of traditional institutions in the land tenure system, particularly within the Benin territory. The misuse of CDAs is stopped, but it says that in Section 11, it creates avenues for the traditional institution in specific areas to take over the role of land tenure management. Subject, of course, to the fact that there is a regular report to the paramount ruler. In other words, the powers of the traditional rulers in the various localities is not absolute. Subject, as in our tradition, to the overlord. Therefore, there is a check. And at this point, it only remains to plead that we do not replace one monster with another monster. It would appear from the news or the reports, even at this early stage, that a lot of our, or some, let me not use a lot, some of our enigies and idiots seem to have interpreted the removal of the CDAs to mean that they would step into the shoes of those CDAs, and that it is now their right to do those things that the CDA used to do. May I respectfully plead with our traditional rulers that this is not the case. We cannot fight one monster and create another. And it will definitely not look good. It will certainly not look decent if an Enoge or an Adionwe is being taken away in handcuff. God forbid that such a thing would ever happen. But I ask us to respect our tradition and respect ourselves to ensure that your role is civil. Your role is not to become the new CDA. Your role is to ensure that civility returns to our land tenure system. In conclusion, therefore, I note that the law has been widely circulated. The reason is to ensure that it is written in very, very simple English. There is virtually nobody of even middle secondary school education who cannot read and understand what is here. And as we say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate the permanent secretary, please. Let's appreciate him. Thank you so much. Much time has been spent already, so we want to move as fast as we can. I want to ask that some of our dignitaries will be given 3 minutes to make some comments. And we want to start with the Esokman of Benin Kingdom, Chief D.U. Adebiri OON, for 3 minutes.
The ASL of Benin, chairman of this forum today, chairman of the committee, chiefs here present, the Inigi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. When I got an invitation to be here as one of the facilitators of this program, I asked myself, why me? I thought the people did a very good job, because the law we are talking about is for the whole of Edo State. But those who will come in contact with the law more than any other group are those in Edo South Senatorial District, otherwise known as the Benin Kingdom, of which the Esokban is the Odiowere. So it is a very right thing to do. I have heard from a very brilliant professor and the Attorney General of the state. I am not going to dwell anymore on the law we are talking about. I will only say that we in Edo South Senatorial District are very happy that the government of this state saw it fit to collaborate with the Omonoba Ewuare II in getting rid of what the permanent secretary referred to as a monster. In a paper which I wrote some time ago, when a group was celebrating the 30th anniversary of our late Oba's reign, I did mention in my paper that the CDAs were not products of a conscious decision by the Benin people or any other group in the state to bring them to life. The CDA came in order to circumvent the provision of the land use decree, which the professor talked about. Nobody brought them into life, nobody appointed them. But when they came, by one way or the other, they managed to get government's attention and they started to do their business. I've always said that the name CDA is not an ugly name. It is what the people there were doing that was ugly. So I am happy that we are now in a different setting, and that will bring peace to our domain, more especially at those South Senatorial District. But let me point out here now that few days or few months into this new law, there are other manifestations of the CDA already. First, the Odiowere, who felt that they have regained their position, are now scheming in some cases of how to deal with their enogie. So that he can become the central finger for the new allocation deal. There is also a case, one or two, which I know of an Odiowere or in some communities, because they say you should not take money from developer, immediately you start your own development, they will connive with the former CDA boys to bring somebody from the community to lay claim to that very land. Then they will say that somebody has come to sue you before the community, that he has the same land that you were developing. All these are manifestations of what the CDA was doing. And in many cases, the Odioweres are still making use of the CDA people in different names. Some call their own Okairo. Okairo in Benin is much more than somebody you send to go and demarcate plots. Okairo is another word for Enugi. For instance, Urunigbe, which is the second largest community to Benin City, has an Okairo as the head of that community. But for the purpose of continuing this CDA problem, some people have created Okairo and give that title to their own youth or whatever it is. So we will also help the committee in monitoring all these activities so that we can be able to curb them once and for all. The present state of affairs is what the Benin nation is built upon. The Benin nation, from time immemorial, was built on this principle of Odiowereshi. That was where we metamorphosed into monarchical system of government. So we are going to make full use of it, and we are going to cooperate with the committee to ensure that the activities are welcome anywhere, and that whatever they want to do to bring peace, tranquility to this land of ours, to Edo State, is successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for coming. We are a major stakeholders in this project. And I pray that by the grace of God and our ancestors, your work will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For another 3 minutes. I guess that was for 3 minutes. For another 3 minutes, Ambassador Emmanuel Imohe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the High Table. As a member of the committee, I would like to align myself with the views already expressed by the chairman of the committee, Inspector General of Police retired Solomon Arase. In addition to that, I'd like to say that there is hardly anybody who has bought property in Benin who has not in one way or the other suffered from the menace imposed by the activities of the community development associations. So, in my view, this law has been long overdue. I'd like also to express my sincere appreciation to the state governor, His Excellency Obaseki, Omanobanedo Ukuakoroko, Ewai Ogidigan II, for the invitation extended to me to be a member of this important committee. I thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, the microphone will find Ibrahim Alilu, State Director, DSS, for 3 minutes.
The chairman of the occasion, the representative of the Royal Majesty, the Oba of Benin, please permit me to rely on the protocol that has been established. Before now, that is to say before the coming into existence of this very law we are discussing here, I remember I was just new here up to the time it was enacted. We discovered that over 70% of the complaints and cases, petitions we got were land related. The situation was so bad that we would spend a whole day, you can imagine a whole day tackling land disputes, problems between CDAs of neighboring communities, problems between factions of CDAs, problems between community heads and CDA officials or members rather. It became so bad that some traditional heads were finding it very difficult to even live in their communities. The problem was that it was not just with the CDS per se. The CDS were there, even some traditional heads were also involved in these irregularities that we are trying to address through this law. But the most disturbing aspect of the whole thing was, and is still, that most of the youths who were involved in this land grabbing and all these things were so rich that because they have sold almost all the lands in their communities, amassed wealth, bought vehicles, and even kept some arms with which they were using to terrorize everybody in their communities. What I just want to say here is that we are aware and we have some idea as to some of these people who have these arms. And thank God the chairman of the committee or the task force has said that an opportunity will be given to people through an amnesty program to submit their arms in exchange for money. I just pray that people will take advantage of that and do away with those things, because if you look at the law, it's very clear as to the role of security agencies. Our task, which we are prepared to do, is to assist the task force in enforcing the law. Maybe what happened was that there was no serious, what would I say, there was no firm law with regard to management of lands at the local level. But now the law is there, and it's very, very clear. And it's very clear about our role as security agencies. So I just want to tell everybody that we are ready. We have assured the task force that we are solidly behind them, and we'll do our work. Everything we'll do in order to support them. I will also want to advise that the youths particularly should take advantage of the various empowerment programs already floated or about to be floated by the government. There is no point thinking land is the end. With land you have everything. I was asking some people, I said, after you have finished selling all the lands in your community, tell me, which land will your children build houses on? Which land will your children farm on? Are they going to build houses on the skies? They said no. I said, why are you doing all these things? So please let us take advantage of this situation and address the issue. We are not averse to receiving complaints. You have complaints, come to us, we'll look at them and see what we can do. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Next microphone finds representative of the State Commissioner of Police, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Oko Peter, for 3 minutes.
The chairman, sir, all protocols duly observed. I want to thank Almighty God for bringing me here today. I've learned a lot from all that have been said about this law. And being a police officer, our duty as per section 13 bracket 2 is to help the committee. And the chairman can attest to that you have started helping them for long. I want to use this opportunity to really acknowledge the traditional ruler of this place. Their choosing uniform is white. And white stands for purity, decency, neatness. And so, I want to use this opportunity to thank them that they should openly support this program. Like the last speaker has just said, Benin, as we know before, is a land where natural resources is found. Years ago, 60s to 70s, you see my people from the middle belt, coming down here to help tapping the rubber. But now, because of land grabbing, robbers have now disintegrated. I don't know where there is rubber in this state again. And I wish with this protection, all these good things shall come to stand. And in addition, I want to appeal to the traditional rulers. With this law in place, try to be very cautious. Be sure you don't dabble into the wrong side of the law. Because we, the law enforcement agents, will definitely enforce the law. And by that night, I beg you will not work. Thank you very much.
All right. With that assurance that I beg you will not work, let us go to the Speaker, the Right Honorable Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, who is here ably represented by Damian Lawani Esquire. He is Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation and Information. 3 minutes.
Thank you. The chairman of this occasion, the ESL of Benin Kingdom, our own father, EU Deputy, the Esogba of Benin Kingdom, and the Oracle of the Universe, the party chairman, Barrister Aslem Ojezwa, the chairman of this forum. Let me stand on the already established protocol. Mine is very simple. I am representing Mr. Speaker, the Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, the Sixth Assembly, who was, in their wise wisdom, passed this law in question to bring peace, harmony, development to Edo land. Mr. Speaker has directed me to tell the Edo people that we will at all time work with Mr. Governor, work with His Royal Majesty to make laws that will benefit the entire Edo land. Mr. Speaker has also directed me to assure His Royal Majesty and all the chiefs that at no point in time will they come with suggestions that will bring development to Edo State, to our various community, that be rest assured that we will stand by you to pass those laws to bring such development. Mr. Speaker has also said that the area he wanted me to also talk on has already been discussed by the Director of SSS. That the youth so removed from this community sale of lands, adequate preparation, adequate engagement should be put in place to ensure that these youth are properly engaged. And with that, we will find a permanent cure to this solution of unnecessary sales of land and grabbing. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the organizer of this forum, that this is the beauty of democracy, where consultation is very, very imperative. Your suggestions, your planning, and all that you have to add to what we are doing to make this law implementable is what will make democracy come to stay. On behalf of Mr. Speaker, we want to thank you and wish the implementers of this law a very successful ride. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We appreciate you. Thank all those who have spent time for me, the segment we are entering into now is the most important. All that we have listened to so far have been speeches. It's an opportunity now for those of us on this other side to ask questions and expect answers to be given. We may not be able to take all the questions, but there are groups here, and we must take as many questions from all the groups as possible. The civil society group is here. There are youths, there are women, the niggas are here. As much as possible, let's put our questions together and present them. And I'm sure that answers will come from this way. Mr. Chairman, PPPL, are we ready to go? All right, sir. So we can start from here. Ago, Coordinator General at the Civil Society Organization. Shoot. Don't buy a paper, ask a question.
Thank you, sir. Let me first appreciate the organizers of this great town hall meeting. Came at the very right time, even though we would have expected that the House of Assembly would have done this before this became a law. Having said that, I want to say good day to Mr. Chairman of this occasion, our real fathers. My dear father is here, particularly looking at me, Chief Osegwese Domosa. And everybody is here, good day. Our question is very straight. We appreciate all that is in this law, great. But there's an aspect we did not notice and we decided to ask so that we can get explanation. This is Benin Kingdom. Is a kingdom rich in tradition. And we know our tradition is paramount to every other thing. I know that there is an aspect called Olu, aka Emolu. I didn't see it reflecting here. So our question is, what happens to this aspect of our tradition vis-a-vis this PPL law? The two is, in continuation of the question is the recent monetization of Emolu not a negation of this law? I ask my question again, Emolu, where is it in this law? And then monetization. Thank you.
Thank you. This one has a longer reach. I'm sure that the questions are being noted. We'll take, do we take 3, 4, and then we get answers? We'll take another round. So let's take the first 4, and then answers will be provided. We've taken from here. Let's take from here. Yes, please. Okay. The microphone will come to you. The hands I'm seeing are all men. Where are the women? Let's appreciate the women first and foremost. Appreciate the women. God bless you. So after this, a woman.
Thank you. The chairman and due protocol observed. My name is Engineer Amino Alex. I am very impressed with these laws and everything that has been explained concerning this law. But I have some few questions from observing an explanation that has been given. I seem to see one place or two that is oversighted in this place. The law has been made, and then the enforcement agencies are there to enforce it. The question now is, when you have the encroachment, as the chairman explained in section 3, number 3 of this law, and saying that if you have a right deed for a land and then somebody encroaches on it, you cannot force them out. That is understandable. But supposing the person encroached on your land is far richer than you are, and you don't have enough money to prosecute the case in the court, is there any assistance that is provided to assist people who may not be able to fight their cases in the court of law, so that justice will also be given to them? That's one question, sir. Then there is another one that I also saw from the contact from the task force The task force, they are well represented in this place, but I seem to not find any means of contacting the task force from this one. So if we have a complaint, how then do we contact the task force? God bless you.
All right, the woman leader.
Mr. Chairman, sir, thank you very much. Mine is straight to the point. Is in the issue of the Bacha houses. This like, what do you call it? You know those Bacha wood houses and things like that. I have a situation along power line. My house is on power. It's not directly on power line, but you have power line in front of it, and because of that, you have a lot of encroachers because they think that is government property, and because these people are there, the aesthetics of your house is no longer visible. So how do you get rid of those people? You know, the Bacha houses, you know, on power line. That's my question. Thank you.
The fourth one, before we take answers, these are three. We have taken three. This way. There's an audio way that seeks to say something. Yes.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I standing here is lovely on your back here, the son of Ojonwore of Obenewebusa. I'm highly excited to see everybody sitting here today, and I'm very grateful for this workshop. Sir, I have just one or two questions to ask. Now, the law has been passed to every community in Edo Kingdom. One, sir, the Ojonwore, the Enigie, or the Ohens can no longer go to the bush. Sir, are they free to have people that they will appoint that will be their eye? That is number one. Number two, sir, in aspect of a molu, which my brother just said, I thank God on that faithful day where our father, our royal majesty, announced, he said every person should go and be doing a molu. I remember far back 1972 at Ugbeku community where my grandfather were Ojonwore. I do follow him to participate in that molu. I thank God that was the term of our royal majesty Akenzoa II or so. Sir, are we free, or are we free to ask people to be cooking this emolu, sir? And the third one, sir, there are people, our community people, most of them do dive into the land that is not belongs to them. How do we do those people? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we listen? Are we listening? Hello? Well, I think I want to take the Molu thing very quickly before I leave the other things to members of the committee. A Molu is a culture of the people. it's not something you go enforcing like the CDA was doing. Going there to say, okay, you are building, this is what you bring, this is what you don't bring. You start giving him what he should give you for a mulu. That is not a mulu. When you build a house, I remember one of my cousins was building a house not too far from me, and I went there, first of all, to meet members of the street, to tell them that this fellow is my brother, and I went and introduced him to the Odion way of the street. When he finished the building, a molu is a molu. You actually cook. You actually cook. Okra, egusi, plenty of pounded yam. You use a hind leg of antelope, ouzo, and you really cook that, and you put it there. Whatever he brings, the people there will share. There is no question of it is not enough or it is enough. It is a ceremony that has to be performed, and it is not something you ask people to come and pay. Are you listening? It's not anything just because somebody is building. First of all, he has paid you for the plot. Then you paid him for digging the olu. Then now you want a molu. And then you tell him what a molu is. You don't tell him. He brings the molu and he invites you to come and help him. That's all. Well, what?
Decorum, please. Please, let's have one house.
Thank you, Royal Father. I think that issue of a molo has been put to rest. It's a cultural thing. So, the woman leader, you talked about bachas close to your distance. I'm aware that the BDPA, that is their responsibility. And one of the ministries that has been recently created by the governor is the Ministry of Environment. So I expect that they should be able to take care of issues like that. Engineer Alex, you talked about activities of the rich encroaching on people's property. What redress do you have? You have several redress, legal redress. You can, if you don't have money to go to court, you can also come to the committee. The committee is no respecter of the rich or the poor. It is meant to ensure that a socially endemic, problem is settled, and that is what we are supposed to do. So you don't need money about that. You talked about contact address. During my address, I said, if we are going to deal with this issue, we have to be able to create a platform. An online reporting system, because somebody who is somewhere in a rural local government, you traveling here to come and submit petition could be very, very cumbersome. So we're already developing a software where through text message, WhatsApp, email address, you can easily access our contact address. But for now, we sit at the SSG's conference room. We have a secretary. She's here seated, Barrister Jane Ikwefa. Barrister, If they want to reach you, I think they can always reach you. They sit on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays sometimes. So you can always reach them at the SSG's office. Since the inception of this committee, we have had 70 complaints. We have sat on 50. We have disposed of 3. So that is the status report that we have as at now. And we can assure you that we are going to move very fast. Once the infrastructure and the logistic is put in place, we'll move very fast to ensure that we are able to clear all the backlogs. And we are also looking at coming to the various communities too. You know, not just sitting down in Benin here. We should be able to reach out to the various communities, try to have a profile of our youths who actually need to be rehabilitated. I want to have their profile. We have people who can, you know, place them in jobs, those ones who are prepared to work. But for those who are not prepared to work, then they should be prepared to fight. Thank you.
All right, so those questions have been, we're going to take another 4 questions, and perhaps that will just be all. Please don't ask a question that has been asked before, so that we can cover the field. Yes. And 1 question, please. So let's together I want. Madam there.
I am Margaret Oko. My sincere thanks and appreciation goes to the Royal Majesty who saw to the needs and the cries of the people of Edo State. My question is this. I want to know if this law is applicable to those in Edo South alone or to other parts of the state. And secondly, I want to draw your attention that these boys, they are not only after property. They've gone to the river. There are times you have cause to go to Bahir River. They tell you to them before you can see the river. Thank you.
Please, son, let her rephrase that last part of the question so that we can capture it.
Well, my last question is this. I am saying that we have reasons to go to the river, maybe for baptism, maybe for spiritual rebirth. You see some boys hanging around the Kobahi River here. They are hiding there. They tell you to give them money before you can do anything there. So I've experienced it, and that's why I'm bringing it to their attention.
So she's talking of CDA for the rivers. So we got that. All right. Let's have one house, please. Let's have one house, please. Let's have one house, please. Madam, ask your question.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, sir.
Let's listen, please.
Mr. Chairman, sir. Members of the High Table and all protocols duly Honorable Potoki Victoria. Sir, I want to appreciate this committee for bringing us to limelight. I have an appeal to make. We call this project a town hall meeting. If we look at it as a town hall meeting, you find out that most people present here are not from the core rural areas. And so, sir, my appeal is that even if it is going to be local government hall meeting or village hall meeting, I'm appealing that such meetings should be held so that the community chairman, the community secretary, community leaders, are all invited so that they could be sensitized and educated on this issue. Because all we are saying here in the town hall meeting, nothing to write home about in the rural areas. Secondly, sir, the core rural areas, when such you go to the nearest station to report, particularly women are the victims. Because when they see you as a woman, maybe you have no support, maybe you are a widow, one thing or the other, they feel they can just intimidate you, humiliate you, and get away with it. And when you go to the stations nearby, most of these police stations will even refuse to come to the rural areas. Maybe they are afraid. Finally, sir, those that have been victims of these land problems, property problems, now that a law is being enacted, what happens? The law, is it with effect from now or is it backdated? Because most of us have problems of lands that have been taken from us that we've not been able to get back. Thank you, sir.
My chairman, sir, God bless you. I want to, first of all, give the best of my thanks to the Oba of Benin for this kind gesture. Most of us, despite we came from different communities, we are victims of this circumstance. I have two questions to ask. Every other person here, both the Enigis and the community leaders, I thank everybody, all and every other protocols being observed. I have two questions to ask. One, what about if you happen to buy a land from a community and the other community come to say this is the community that gave you the land is not the owner of the land, and at the end of the day you have your building there and the case goes to the court, and at the end of the day the case is won by the opposition side, what will be the help of this committee to the person that have had building there? One, because I'm a victim of that. Then two, in terms of development, there are a group of persons before, although they are members of the CDA, they will follow you to the bush, they will measure your land for you before you build. What now happens to this group of people? Thank you very much.
My people, now good afternoon. Wetin dey happen for Iyekoba now I wan make Edo people know. Urobo and Ijo wey dey Amaba community camp since 5 days now, dey cross river enter Obasagbo community, come dey shoot gun, dey keep people stuff, dey pack their food, dey shoot gun. As we dey talk now, dem dey shoot gun there for Obasagbo. Dem come burn our Ojonwe house, scatter many houses for our Ojonwe. AIG Zone 5 is aware, Commissioner of Edo State is aware. Now I say make I come meet the Benin people for this conference today, make I let them know wetin dey happen for Iyekoba, so that make Omonomba and the governor make dem come assist us. And these very people that sit down here, I want to use this opportunity to beg our Baba Arase, may you come to Obasagbo to come and rescue Obasagbo. Our Ojonwe is here now. He's here now.
My name is David Osarabo.
Listen, please.
My name is David Osarabo Ohagbo. retired CIA, that's Chief Inspector of Education. I'm reading 98 years now. But I just want to tell you what happened in my community. I'm from Obazakoni Yekoba community. Last Saturday, some people came from a semi-camp. That camp is under Amagba community. They entered my house and burned my house. We managed to escape through back of my house, my children, my wife, and others. So it was that very Saturday I came to Benin. We have reported this matter in some police stations. They have been trying seriously to make arrests, but nobody has been arrested. And I know one of them by name, Etiosa Obauana, was one of them that came to my house on that very day. I have a community, and these people were not from my community. Thank you. Please, and I want everybody to come to my head.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you. All right. Please listen, or you have asked questions, listen to the answers, please.
Madam, you asked me if this law is applicable to the whole of Edo State. Yes, it is applicable. But most of the areas where we have problem is mostly the Edo-speaking area. But it's applicable across the state. Then you talked about the spiritual cleansing. The police can always assist you, the nearest policeman, and you can always refuse to pay them money. Honorable Victoria, you talked about the town hall meeting not being representative enough. I agree with you, absolutely. I did mention that the committee will intend to carry this message to the various local governments where we know that the issues are more prevalent. So it's not, we're not just going to sit down somewhere in the comfort of our office in Benin here without reaching out. And when we reach out, like if you say you are having a town hall meeting, you are looking at, the strategic stakeholders, market women, students, the youths, the traditional institution, and the civil society organization. We are supposed to, market women. We are supposed to identify all those things. So we are guided by what you have said. The next one we are going to do, we will ensure that we put that one into consideration. About women reporting to police station, what we have decided to do, we keep telling, the committee keep discouraging our brothers. Why will you take money and go and give to policemen and say they should go and arrest your brothers and take them to Abuja or take them to Lagos? It doesn't make sense. These policemen, if you corrupt them, then you have yourself to blame. But what we have decided to do, we have set up a small team of police officers that are working with us. So wherever you have a matter that is reported, those policemen will go to that particular police station and get the matter and take a look at it and ensure that justice is done. So that's exactly what we intend to do. I think she asked for that. Honorable Victoria, you also wanted to know if the law is retrospective. It is. So if you have cases that have, some cases of where your land have been taken in the past, if you report to the committee, we'll also take a look at it. Community dispute over land. The last one, which one? Okay, the invasion of the Baba from Iyekogba, Obazagbon. I will, when we finish, see me. I will help you check with the AIG to see how far they are going with the matter. Sorry, there is a question that they said I omitted. You said, can the Enigies or Dion Wires or the Ohens delegate powers, on their behalf? We have to wait for a pronouncement from the Omo for us to be certain about who now has, how can they constitute, the allocation committee. So just exercise some patience. I'm sure now that our royal fathers are here, they should be able to help us mention it to the Omo, and in a very short time, I think there should be a pronouncement on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want to thank all of you for your patience throughout this ceremony. If there are other developments, please contact the committee headed by our distinguished Edo son, the retired IG, at the SSG's conference hall where they are presently meeting. For now, the IG has said that there will be further communication as to how you can send text messages and all of that. They will bring out all of those. And also the fact that there will be a step down of this at the local government level. And my advice is that the committee must reach out to organized groups to take this further. We want to thank all of you. We want to thank the Enigies. We want to thank the youths, the women, the civil society actors present, and of course those from government. At this point, I'd like to pass the mic over to the chairman of today's ceremony for his final closing remarks.
Distinguished chairman of the committee, my brother chiefs, the Enige, all of you, I want to say that I think this was a good start. Like you have already remarked, and like he has already told you, they are going to find out how they can get more of you to talk to. But the most important thing that I've heard here today, the most pleasing thing to me, is that the committee is thinking of what happens to these boys who were the CDA members who are now jobless. He's told you that well, the point is that you were not employed before. Nobody employed you. But the government is prepared to employ you if you want to work. I remember not long ago, some people went to him and said, we have some people who were doing this type of thing before. What do we do with them? And the governor told them if they want to farm, he was prepared to give them land to farm. So you must be prepared to, especially those of you from the communities, you must be prepared to farm. I also have something from the government house as well. He saw a place where they were doing some wall screeding, which was very beautiful, and some tiling. He begged the people in charge if they could help him train people, and they said they would. Now, the chief has gone here. He would have told you what happened. He asked him to call to get 10 people from the senatorial districts, which he did. And he took them to this man for training. These people came from Auchi and from Irua and Poma and so on. But those in Benin, when they got there the next day, it was the Benin ones who asked the governor, what is going to be our pay? This man has gone to the trouble of bringing you here to train you so that you can have job to do. You are asking how much you are going to be paid for being trained. And you had a home here. You were able to go to the training every day for free of charge. You don't have to pay for house. Some of these people who came from North Edo and Central Edo were sleeping in that place where they were being trained. And they were not looking for money. What I'm trying to say is our boys should start thinking of how they can work. The government cannot manufacture job for you unless you are ready to learn. So the government says, and this is what the committee is saying, they are prepared to ensure that people will get something to do, but you must be prepared to work. We want to thank them for bringing us here today. It has been a very good day, and we are hoping for, now you know what all this thing is about, all the law and so on. You know what will happen to you if you sell somebody else's land. We thank you for coming, or invite you. If you were invited and you didn't come, nobody would have blamed you. Thank you for coming. I hope you've heard. Carry this news around. You now know about the law. Tell all the others who didn't come, and I think our kingdom will get the better for it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for all you have done. We are hoping for a very, very good result from this. The old man who was driven out of his house, yes, okay. The chairman is going to help you. Well, that is the end of today's meeting. If there is nothing else to do, we are going home. Thank you.
Please, no rush, please. Please. Those who are moving out, please just move out quietly. No rush.
Arabade. Yeah. Arabade is a song. Beautiful song.
Thank you so much.